So unfortunately, the meeting cannot be live streamed. Staff will tape this meeting and video will be uploaded tomorrow. So, Joanne?
I would like to introduce the Webelos of PAC 990 and their leaders Perry Craiglow and Joe DeLapp. They are going to be leading us in a flag ceremony and our Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guard attention. Will the audience please rise? Color guard advance. Code step salute. Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color guard, post the colors. Two. Color guard dismissed. The audience may be seated.
Actually, if you would all please stand. Join me in our invocation. Thank you. Thank you, Webelos. Heavenly Father, thank you that this council and city may meet freely and that we have a military and professionals that lay down their lives so that we may stay free, healthy, and out of harm's way. We thank you for your servant, James Kavanaugh, and his service to this city, and we ask that we may reflect on your statement. Do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. They will be life for you, an ornament to grace your neck. In your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Joanne. Well, as you see, you have a new face up here this evening at the dais. And the reason being, Mayor Kavanaugh submitted a letter of resignation this morning. But as I see, all other council members are present and welcome, and I look forward to a very eventful evening. Do we have any, I don't believe there's any expenditures tonight, is that correct? We do have one communication tonight, and I will be going down to read a proclamation to Captain Kerr, the squadron commander of the squadron of 313 of the Civil Air Patrol. And this is quite dear to me because my husband is involved with this group off and on. And so being an old Air Force couple and then in retirement, actually serving again, I'm very proud to do this. So, Jerry? It's a long one. Yeah, see, when you do so many things, you can hold that other side. Okay? And I'll do it this way. Goodyear Civil Air Patrol, December 1st to the 7th, 2010. Whereas Civil Air Patrol was established December 1st, 1941, to supplement the U.S. military during World War II. And whereas the 1948 CAP was designated as a United States Air Force official auxiliary with 3 missions: emergency services, cadet programs, aerospace education. And whereas since CAP's beginning, the organization has set itself apart during the country's most tumultuous times, locating and sinking enemy submarines during World War II, assisting rescues and state agencies immediately following September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, supporting relief efforts during 2005 hurricane season, and more recently in response to the Hurricane Ike's devastation in 2008. As well, aiding communities during other natural disasters such as floods, wildfires, ice storms, and tornadoes. whereas provides vital homeland security missions that help ensure protection of the nation by assisting Air Force pilots with targeting intercept training, and whereas CAP provides exceptional education, growth opportunities for youth through its nearly 22,000 member-strong cadet program, which annually provides access to top national summer flight academies and to 30 national programs emphasizing leadership and career in aviation, as well in flight training in power and glider aircraft. Whereas CAP Aerospace Education Program annually affects the youth in classrooms across America. And that happens by teaching multidisciplinary aviation concepts that emphasize aviation's connection to history, math, science, and economics. Therefore, be it hereby resolved that the City of Goodyear hereby commends CAP and its missions for America in its outstanding cadet and aerospace program. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
At this time, is the citizens' comments and appearance to address the City Council on non-agenda items. The Council will listen to the comments and may take one of the following actions. We may respond to criticism. We can request the staff investigate and report on the matter, and we request that the matter be scheduled on a future agenda. I'm asking the city clerk, are there any cards?
Yes, I have two people who requested to speak. The first one is David Wilson.
Okay. Then I'll call David Wilson.
For the non-agenda, I'm calling on behalf of the building department. There's been a serious issue lately of break-ins of shops, businesses, and the building department, as I went down to get a permit, should be a lot more helpful and should have contacted the mayor's office into waiving or reducing the
David,
$180
do me a favor.
fee.
Pull that microphone a little
Yeah, I'm
closer
sorry,
to you.
David, I put that back in there.
All
I
right.
probably didn't put it in correctly.
But it's all right now?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This issue, businesses don't have the money to buy security doors, than to come down to the building department and ask for more and more issues about nuts and bolts and how it's going to be fastened and whatnot, and then told a $180 fee to install a security door. And someone coming out from planning saying, is there anything you can do so it's not going to be ugly on the outside of the building? Well, within 2 hours of Taste of Italy getting broken into, I was on the internet and I was on the phone with contractors. And when I left that office Thursday or Friday afternoon, the planning and building department should have done the same. The planning and building department right now should have a list of contractors that will come in at a reduced rate and work with it, and they should have contacted the mayor's office and said, let's reduce this $180 permit fee down to something reasonable, $40, $50. It is ugly. It's going to look terrible on the outside of a building. But unless somebody from the planning department gets involved with a contractor and does something about it, what are we going to do to protect ourselves? Insurance, one claim, and my insurance rates are going to double. And this is something that can't sit and wait because they break the glass tomorrow, somebody puts in a claim tomorrow. And when the city council sits and waits and reviews and goes over 6 months later, it doesn't work that way. This is something that needs to be decided in 6 hours, 6 days at most. And it was a disgrace going to the building department the other day and being treated the way I was treated. And for them not even to contact this council and ask for help and what we can do for businesses, because it's going to become more and more. Thank you for your time.
The second,
There actually was criticism on there. Do I ask if somebody would like to respond to that from the dais, or would we rather just put it in the hands of the city manager's office to investigate?
Ms. Vice Mayor, typically criticism was more the personal nature, individual
Okay.
criticism of council member.
Okay.
I think in this case, I'd recommend that you should have
Okay.
the city
All right.
manager report back to the council on this matter.
Well, before we go on to the next one, I want to thank you for coming before us. I asked at the last meeting, when people have complaints, that we would rather hear them from you and to the city so that we can address them and see what we can do. It's so much better than passing it from neighbor to neighbor, and I thank you for that. It's not easy to come up here before us. The next one?
Next speaker is Roger Matlin.
It's good to see you, Mr. Matlin.
Thank you. First off, congratulations, I guess Mayor Lord now. I wanted to follow up on two things. One is just that last gentleman's comment. You've heard me make comments about problems with departments in the city and how they haven't responded to items. I would encourage you to make sure that the city manager follows up with this gentleman, because in the past I found that the city manager hasn't always followed up. So I just would like to see that happen. Secondly, and the primary reason I'm here, is I apologize I haven't been here for the last two meetings. I've watched it on the internet, so sorry if I wasn't here to hassle you. But I look forward to being on the council with you soon. I want to thank you for your phone call, Mayor Lord, asking how I was and if everything was all right. And I was simply out of town because my father had back surgery recently, had some complications, and I've been helping him out back in Los Angeles, just making sure that he gets the right treatment he needs and is taken care of properly and recovers properly. So I'm still following on all the city matters. I watched the council meetings from his hospital room, but that was the reason I was out of town. As far as my health, as you had asked in the voicemail you left me, I'm doing just great. And like I said, I'm looking forward to getting back actively in the council happenings and being on the council with all of you soon enough. So thank you again. I appreciate the phone call. It was very kind.
You're welcome.
Madam Vice Mayor, if I may suggest, I am not aware of one call that I have not responded to that the council has asked me to. So I, quite frankly, would like Mr. Matlin to tell me about specific examples when that has happened.
Yes. Mr. Matlin, did you hear that? You were walking on the way back. The city manager would appreciate if you could give him the exact complaints that you have expressed and that we're not taking care of. We would appreciate this, because in actuality, if we don't, it isn't clear, we can't improve. And if we're doing something in an area that's not at the standards the city wants to progress, then we certainly will address it.
Okay,
So
well, I'll
if you
give
would
you
set some time, I would appreciate that.
I'll give you an example right now. There was an item that I believe Councilmember Osborne had brought up and asked that be addressed by the city manager, having to do with landscaping, and an issue we were having a while ago having to do with landscaping in the city. And I had asked for some numbers on that and some follow-up information on the progress that was occurring. I never got a response on that.
I believe we responded to that at the last meeting.
I don't know, but if we
we didn't,
missed
we
it,
will.
Could the possibility we send him information
Sure.
on that would be great. I would appreciate that. Is that good, Roger?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're down to the consent items. If the clerk could read A through D by title only.
Item A, approve draft minutes of a work session, a regular meeting, and a special meeting held on October 25th, 2010. Item B, reinstate Leslie Benton Miller and appoint new member Mark Pelletier to the Goodyear Centennial Committee for a period of approximately 18 months through the state's centennial celebration on February 14th, 2012. Item C, approve a request for a special use to allow an AT&T wireless communication facility in the public facilities land use of the Palm Valley Phase 8 pad on property located southwest of the intersection of McDowell Road and Saraville Avenue, south of the Roosevelt Irrigation District Canal, with a waiver to allow a reduced setback of 19.8 feet from the north property line, 15.7 feet from the south property line, and 30.9 feet from the west property line in lieu of the required 65 feet, subject to stipulations. Item D, adopt ordinance 10-1227, providing for an amendment to the 288-acre Sierra Vista Foothills Final Planned Area Development Pad to exclude 7.4 acres from the pad and rezone the 7.4 acres to the Estrella Phase 2 Final Pad, and approve an amendment to the pad for the remaining 281 acres generally located on the northeast corner of Pecos Road and the Saraville Road alignment, future Cotton Lane, and bounded on the east by the Estrella Mountain Regional Park and private land, adopting supplementary zoning map number 10-102 to provide for the pad zoning amendment, providing separability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Does anybody in the public wish to remove an item? Does anyone from the council wish to remove an item? If no items have been removed, is there a motion? And I need a second to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Souza made the motion, and I believe Councilman Osborne seconded. The city clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Laurentano?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Okay, now we go to the business agenda. Let me get my... And the first item on the business agenda is 10-4537, amendment to the Article 7 sign regulation of the zoning ordinance regarding temporary signs and digital marquee signs. Mr. Schmidt?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members.
Vice Mayor Lord, could you please open the public hearing?
We can have a public hearing.
Thank you so much. Public hearing open.
If it pleases the Mayor and Council, I'd like just to go through the short presentation to summarize where we've been and where we are with the potential changes to the sign regulations. You may, before you tonight are actually two proposed revisions, two ordinances. Ordinance 10-1225 addresses temporary signs, and then there's a second ordinance, 10-1226, that specifically addresses digital marquee signs. And if it is agreeable to the council, I'll go over both of them together, ask that you take comments on both of them at the same time, but when you go to act, if you'll act on them separately.
I appreciate you announcing it, Mr. Schmidt, because that was my job, and I didn't do it. So I appreciate you backing me up on that. Thank you.
Okay, well, certainly, I'm not trying to take your job.
Yeah,
You'll recall that in August, we had a work session at the request of the City Council regarding temporary signs. We reviewed existing regulations with the council. We reported on enforcement efforts to date. And then we reviewed the practices of other valley cities. And we discussed possible changes to the temporary sign regulations. And the council directed staff to go ahead and prepare an amendment to the zoning ordinance to implement certain changes. We did that. We took it to the Planning and Zoning Commission at its meeting of October 20th. The Commission recommended and supported the staff recommendation, however, with several changes and additions, which I will touch on as I go through the recommended changes. And then lastly, we also received some comments from the Home Builders Association of Central Arizona and the Arizona Multifamily Housing Association, which were included in your agenda packet. To summarize, the proposed revisions to the temporary sign regulations, basically the first one is to allow special promotion signs to be displayed for 15 days instead of the current 10 days. That was the recommendation of the commission. Staff originally had recommended extending that to 20 days. The commission, however, felt that the amount of increase may have been too large and recommended that it be cut by 50%. Secondly, to allow grand opening signs to be displayed for 45 days instead of the current 30 days. Once again, that was a recommendation of the commission. Staff originally had recommended 60 days for grand opening signs. The third recommendation was to allow one A-frame sign per business placed on the sidewalk adjacent to the building. That was supported by the commission. Number 4 was to allow one banner attached to the building per building face instead of one per street frontage, which is the current regulation. The commission also supported that. The fifth change would be to allow a building banner on the street frontage sign to be placed freestanding in landscaping in front of the building rather than on the building, but yet limiting it to one per property. The sixth would be to allow streamers and pennants during grand openings, but not during special promotions, and prohibit flying banner signs and animated inflatable signs. The latter half of that recommendation was a clarification in the ordinance since it wasn't abundantly clear whether those were allowed or not allowed, and the commission supported that recommendation. Number 7 was to allow business advertising on unused city kiosk signs. You'll recall we have 39 kiosk signs located throughout the community, primarily for advertising the location or directing the public to the location of subdivisions that are home builders are building in. And the idea there is that it would eliminate the use of bandit signs placed all along the right-of-way, which historically has been a problem. The Planning and Zoning Commission on this item actually recommended against this addition to the temporary sign regulations, and but it is included in the ordinance. So if you do wish to go with the commission's recommendation, then that section would need to be removed from the adopted ordinance. The 8th recommendation was to allow distances, that is the mileage to the subdivision, to be displayed on the kiosk signs. That is something that the current ordinance does not allow. The 9th recommendation was to allow 4 flags per model home up to a maximum of 8 flags. There's a current limit on a number of flags to be displayed as 6. And then lastly, the commission recommended that there be a 24-month time limit on changes to the temperature sign regulations, in that after 24 months expires, it would take us basically to January 1st, 2013. The ordinance would revert back to the current regulations. That is in the ordinance that's before you, so if staff had originally recommended no time limit, that the changes recommended could stay in place. If it's the council's desire, that language would then need to be removed from the ordinance if you don't want no time limit. With respect to the digital marquee signs, this was not necessarily a part of the original discussion. However, the council had previously authorized staff to go out on an RFP, which is in the works. Negotiations are underway with the top respondent to try to negotiate a proposed contract that would be our license agreement that would be brought back before the council for action. And upon advice of council, it was recommended that we include in the zoning ordinance a definition of digital marquee sign and also a provision that allows it on city-owned property. So since we were in the sign ordinance already, we went ahead and added that to the discussion, if you will. The fact of the matter is that even by adding it to the code doesn't necessarily mean you have to approve a license agreement. You could still make that decision independently of this, but it does provide for additional protections to the city that if we do enter into a license agreement, we'll have it in the city code. So once again, summarize the changes. Ordinance 1225 proposes 10 changes to the temporary sign regulations. All the changes proposed were recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, except for the use of the kiosk signs for business purposes. It is included in the proposed ordinance, but was not recommended by the Commission. The changes proposed would be in effect for 24 months unless the proposed ordinance is adopted without that provision. And then Ordinance 10-1226 proposes changes to the sign regulations to allow digital marquee signs, but does not commit the city to do so. So with that, I'll stand for any questions that the mayor or council may have.
Do I open this up to public comment first? Yes. At this time, I'm going to open the subject to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience? Do we have a list? Oh.
First one is Bridget Jones.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor and members of council. My name is Bridget Jones. I'm here on behalf of the Home Builders Association of Central Arizona. Do you need me to say the address?
No, it's okay.
I am here in light of the changes that have been proposed for the business signage to provide relief for businesses. I'm here to also ask for some relief for the home builders as well. And I have provided you with some additional backup information in a blue folder. It has the letter that I sent to each of you on November 1st and some additional information that you can take a look at as I go through here. Obviously, home building is extremely down right now. And in 2005, there were over 2,800 single-family permits pulled in the city of Goodyear. This year we'll be lucky if we hit 500. As of the end of October, there have been 440 permits pulled. Obviously, this is an indicator of how times have changed, and obviously market conditions have changed, and the way that we market to our potential consumers has to change as well. I can actually personally speak to some of the issues that Goodyear has as far as directing consumers to the subdivisions. My parents were actually out here about a month and a half ago looking for homes, and we had an extremely difficult time getting from a kiosk sign to an actual subdivision. And so one of the major things that we're asking for is some additional off-site signage. And I have provided in your folder for you some different examples from 4 cities of some off-site signage options that they have. We're asking for some off-site advertising or directional signs, some larger ones. You'll see that there is, in the city of Chandler, they allow 1 per mile or where there's a change in direction. And in several of the other cities, they allow up to 2 of these signs. I'm also asking for off-site weekend directional signage. And you'll see that Glendale allows 15 of these on the weekend, and they give a time frame for which they should be put up and taken down, and they also need to be permitted. And also, there are several other cities that offer this as well. As far as home building goes and how it affects the community benefits it from home building in multiple ways. You have impact fees that the city collects, sales tax from construction that the city collects, and also new property taxes as an ongoing revenue. And it also encourages commercial growth to come to the city. And so I would ask in closing that you consider these signage recommendations that I have made, and also the additional ones that I provided in the letter. Thank you for your time, and if you are able to ask me questions and you have any, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mark Pelletier.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. My name is Mark Pelletier. You may recall that I spoke to you the last time the issue of digital marquee signs came before you for consideration, stating that I thought billboards, which is what these really are, were aesthetically unacceptable, as well as not in keeping with the character we all want for our community. I was followed at that meeting immediately by our Planning and Zoning Commissioner, our chairman, who said, well, you know, those are just eloquent words that Mark said, and it's just the freeway. And by the way, we've got this big, ugly racetrack. It's been abandoned sitting along the freeway for 45 years. So what's the problem with a couple of ugly billboards? Frankly, I think he made my case better than I did. Now, I realize the only issue before you tonight is to put the definition of digital marquees and the support for possible future acceptance of them as part of the code. But I also know that you are already negotiating to see what sort of a deal can be made. So I'll have no eloquent words for you tonight, just a suggestion. I-10 travels for 7 miles through our community. 3 miles of the Loop 303 will be built somewhat in the near future, and indeed 30 more miles will be built of the Loop 303, although frankly probably not in any of our lifetimes. So I would ask you now, particularly if you decide to include this in the ordinance now, to begin thinking in your mind, how many billboards are too many for Goodyear? I know the city talked about maybe 3 and has talked at this point about 1. I personally think there will ultimately be a legal challenge against the restriction that only the city can do these on city property, opening it up to the public, to anybody that wants to build a billboard, or certainly a larger audience. So please, start thinking now. How many billboards are too many for Goodyear? You know my position. I think 1 is a precedent, and I think 1 is too many. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Sherilyn Homan.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're going to come.
I don't mean to make a statement, but if I can't see you, it's a little disconcerting. So I will rise to the occasion. My name is Sherilyn Homan, and I live in Goodyear. And I want to congratulate the council and for the staff for bringing your attention that something did need to happen for our business community in regards to signage. The economy is a challenge for all of us, but our small businesses have a particular challenge, and it's our business to help them succeed, and I think that's what you're doing by addressing this. I do hope that you'll look seriously at perhaps reconsidering ending it in 24 months, or at least addressing it again in 24 months with no conclusive decision, because if there is abuse, then obviously something needs to be done. But if our businesses are respectful and honor the intention of this change, I would hate to see them have it taken away in 24 months. Thank you very much for letting me talk to you. And again, I congratulate you and appreciate that you are addressing this issue positively.
Thank you.
The next speaker is David Wilson.
Thank you again, Council. Good evening again. The signage change does not include vehicles. We know the issue that we've had with my vehicle, and it's parked out front and is tastefully done. I believe we should include in there any shopping center that is 55% not occupied. A vehicle-wrapped vehicle signage should be allowed to park anywhere on that property within the outer sidewalk, whether it be gravel, dirt, pavement. If it's tastefully done and is bringing in business, that should be allowed. And these laws, these got to be passed soon. These are businesses that are ready to bust out and are closed down. I have been very fortunate in our business. Our first 3 stylists I had to get rid of, and we started with a whole new group of employees. And in 6 months, I'm successful. My car did help. Would my car help more if I can put it out on the property and not have city ordinance come after me? Yes. There is nobody in our building. There's 6 or 7 stores, and there's 2 of us there. We need help. And to allow me to put the car out there, allow other people to do it, it has to be done. Set a limit on it. Once it's 50% occupied, 55% occupied, stop. Then it's that simple. It's a simple law. Please add that to the signage change. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Roger Matlin.
Good evening again. Roger Matlin, Goodyear. I waited to speak on this item because I wanted to hear what some of the other speakers were saying, and I wanted to make comments on a couple of things that people noted. First, the comments that were made by the representative of the Home Builders Association. Having dealt with commercial real estate for most of my career and dealt with the home builders when they're doing planned developments and putting together projects, I'm a little disappointed in their comments. I don't think the city of Goodyear should be using itself to market new home sales for home developers that have failed to contribute back to our community properly. They helped lead us to this failure in conjunction with many of the people in our various departments here in the city that approved developments that should not have been built in the first place. And I would like to see them contribute more to the community before we're giving them access to marquee signs or other signs to help them market their product. You want free business, you want a free economy and a regular market. Well, this is one aspect that they're going to have to deal with then, unless they want to step up and really contribute back to the residents here in Goodyear. So I was disappointed in their statement, and I would ask that you not provide some of those provisions that they were asking for with regard to their marketing. In addition, I have a problem with the digital marquees, and as Mr. Pelletier had noted, I agree. Having seen so many cities and so many properties over my career, I can fully agree that if we start putting up billboards here in the city of Goodyear, you're going to ruin the look of our city. You need to make the decision, and this is one reason why I'm also running for council, because I came to a city that I wanted to have look nice, be a safe place to live, and a quality place to live, and I'd like to keep it that way. I think if you start putting in billboards, you start putting in digital billboards, you are going to open a can of worms that is going to be very problematic to the city. And you need to make that decision whether you want that quality in Goodyear anymore. I have no problem with allowing private businesses to market themselves, and I would just ask that you support them in whatever signage and minimal signage they ask for, but you do not allow the digital marquees and the kiosk marketing as well. So, thank you.
Welcome.
I don't have any more speakers.
Public hearing is now closed. Would the clerk read the ordinance 10-1225 by title only?
Adopt ordinance 10-1225, amending Article 7-9, temporary signs, and Article 7-10, subdivision signs, of Article 7, Sign Regulations of the zoning ordinance of the City of Goodyear, Arizona, adopted May 24, 1999, as amended, modifying the amount of time temporary signs may be displayed for special promotions and grand openings, clarifying the types and number of temporary signs that are allowed, amending the kiosk sign program to allow advertising of commercial uses, allowing an increase in the number of flags displayed at a model home complex, providing for severability, providing a 24-month sunset provision, and providing for an effective date.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Heard a motion by Councilman Cavalier and second by Joe Pizzillo. Roll call. Vote, please.
Oh, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion. Oh, boy, I just want to jump into this stuff. Wouldn't you get me, all of you?
You're not going to let me talk on this?
Yeah, I'm going to let you all talk, because this is a very contentious subject, and we have gotten letters and calls, and so tonight I would really like to see us have a serious discussion. I think you can address each other when you make a comment. Excuse me, Councilman Cavalier, if you'll let me finish. If somebody has a comment, you don't agree with them, let's say you don't, and ask them why, and give them some suggestions. Let's have a serious discussion on this so we can come to a great decision, okay?
I made the motion.
Councilman,
I made the motion, so I have the right to have the first say.
so be it.
Okay. I agree with the ordinance the way it's written. The only few things that I see about it that I would criticize is that there might be too few. I mean, like, why 6 balloons? Well, why not 8? I mean, what's the difference? There are a lot of little things that are petty in there that could be taken out. If there were 14 or 15 or 20 balloons, you get a lot of attention with that. And that's what these people are asking for, is more attention, their signage. The car signs, that's another issue, and I agree with what's been recommended, because if we open up that can of worms, we'll have some real problems. As far as the signage that's out there now, I think this came up at a neighborhood meeting the other night, and our code enforcement person was there. We discussed that. It's difficult. How do you police all these box signs and all these tent signs and everything that comes up all over the place? And I feel for the businesses. We do need to help the businesses succeed, but we have to draw some lines somewhere. So as far as this ordinance, 10-1225, I am in 100% agreement with, and I would vote for this ordinance as it is written. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Frank.
There's a couple issues that I saw. First of all, when looking at just driving around, like this weekend, I was driving around looking how many empty businesses we had. Every business, there's either, like even the major businesses, I know Mr. Wilson's shopping center is pretty much empty, which the crime issue is one thing, but we got to keep the small businesses in there. But even the Walmart shopping center, there's a lot of empty businesses that have failed. There's one Italian restaurant. It's been through 2 or 3 cycles of Italian restaurants on the outer lane there by the little beauty supply store. So I think we need to I like the fact we're adding, I agree with Councilman Cavalier that, whether it's 6 or 8 balloons, I don't have heartburn about that as well. With the digital billboards, for me anyway, whether or not we agree with the premise, I like the fact it's in here, so then we can have that discussion once we see the RFP come back and we can determine exactly what is being offered us, whether we want it or not. My other 2 very brief comments are, as a small business owner, I kind of agree the 24-month time seems a little short to me from the projections I'm seeing about the economy. It doesn't look like we're going to be gangbusters coming back anytime soon. I think it's going to be very slow. So if we could either do it 36 months or just make sure it's scheduled before it sunsets to discuss, I'm okay with putting that in there as long as we can have it come back. It doesn't automatically sunset. We can just keep the same ordinance. The other issue was with regard to the subdivision signs of the home builders. Obviously, where I live up in Estrella, we are very remote. I had a birthday party this weekend with kids. I had parents who had trouble because of the race. They took Cotton Lane up. There's no signage that way on the new Cotton Lane Bridge to find Estrella. I had people literally calling me, so I can imagine if you're trying to find the Morrison homes or the homes that are on the backside of Estrella. So if maybe we could work with some of the home builders, you know, if you're a home builder and you're right down the center of Goodyear, it might be a little easier to find, but I know some of our home builders might be having some problems. So I wouldn't have a problem, obviously, passing it today, maybe working with them a little bit more on some of the, maybe one every mile or something. That seems reasonable. I don't want to see a bunch of those little stick signs that blow away, though, you know, so, but I do agree that is a problem. And then my final comment, when I was looking at the vehicle signs, I don't think it really includes wrapped signs. I did a brief stint as a community prosecutor, and we dealt with some of these issues in Phoenix. And a lot of our vehicle signs at that time were dealing with the trucks that people painted signs on and stuck them in the parking lot. A wrap sign that, like in this case, is very small. I saw one at Gale's Furniture that's obviously a delivery truck, but it's parked close. I see realtors all over the place, same thing, that have those small, like U-Haul trucks that are wrapped and parked close. And those are for display and to get business. And I think when we look at the sign, it says the sign painted, which might include it, but it says, and the primary purpose of said vehicle is for display. If the primary purpose is for the owner's transportation, I don't know if it fits here. So maybe we do need to look at that to include wrap signs, however we want to look at it. I know that's not on the table for today, but when I was reading it, I was kind of like, I think an argument can be made that it doesn't really fit in, and maybe this was written prior to people started doing the wrapping of the cars, so it really wasn't ideal. Like I said, what I used to see was the flatbed truck with the big old sign on it that was parked there, and it was literally an eyesore, and I don't think anybody's talking about that, but maybe we could look, you know, the professionally wrapped cars are different than someone just painting a sign. So those are kind of my comments. I'm for the ordinance as it's written with those.
Councilman Souza?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, are we going to be looking at this on total, the 10 items? Or are we going to take them each individually?
Oh, we hadn't decided that. I thought we were taking it as a group.
We got 2 ordinances.
Yes, but what we're just not talking about the digital now. We'll talk about the digital after this. This is just on the other signage. Agreed on that? Because, right, we can do that. It's under 2 separate. So I think it's...
There were 10 items that were made by Mr. Smith, okay? And there are some concerns that I have about several of the items. Item number 3, for example. Now, are we going to vote? Are we going to vote in total, or are we going to take them individually?
I think it's in total unless we make a decision that we're going to pull something out.
Excuse me.
You want to bring him back up?
Yeah, right.
Joe, could you, Mr. Schmidt, could you come back? It's on that, you want, can you show the 10 items?
Yes, we can do that like now.
No, what I'm saying is that there are some of these items that I object to. And if I'm going to vote in toto, then I'm going to have to vote no if that's the way we're going to go. I think it's only fair to take these one at a time so that we can make comments individually about the revisions or proposed revisions. That's a suggestion, Madam Mayor.
I'm going to refer this to the lawyer at this point.
I'm sorry, Z, was your question whether you can vote on these provisions individually?
Yes.
No, not tonight. We could take it out and break it up and try to bring it back in pieces, but otherwise we could start working amendments tonight if you'd like to do that.
So that then basically would be my out here, rather than voting no, just saying that, well, I'd like to see this at a later date.
You can make a motion to continue and
If the majority agrees.
If the majority agrees.
Right.
Okay, all right, fine. My concern was item number 3 was on the A-frames. And the one on the kiosk and the
It's not, there it is. It's moving now. And the kiosk sign? Number 7?
Number 7.
7, right, okay. I'd like to have those 2 items pulled so that we can discuss them at a later date. That would be my motion.
Make an amendment to the motion.
Barbie?
Can we discuss this first?
Mr. or Ms. Vice Mayor and Councilmember Sousa, I don't think you can just pull individual sections to discuss later. You can postpone the entirety of the zoning ordinance, or in the alternative, you could make an amendment to strike those provisions, which would work as well if with the majority of the council agreeing, then vote on whatever's left. That would work as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would recommend that an amendment be made regarding provision number 3 and item provision number 7 of the ordinance, that those two be, the recommendation being viewed at a future date of the council.
Do I hear a second?
Well, don't we have a motion on the floor already?
No, this is an amendment to the motion.
This is an amendment, so that's, okay.
I'll second it.
Do I need a roll call vote?
Well, first of all, you're going to discuss first, so let's restate the motion, the amendment. The amendment, as I understand it, is you want to strike those two provisions, but to have them brought back at a later date.
That's correct. That's
okay.
correct.
So you have a motion and a second on that amendment. So you can discuss that, then take a vote on that amendment.
Okay, it's number 7, and what was the other one?
3
Three.
and 7.
It's actually sections 2 and 3 of the proposed ordinance.
All right, more discussion. Joanne?
Well, go ahead, John.
Yes, okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
Councilman
fine.
Osborne.
No, okay. Well, I have definitely a lot of thought that I've given to this, and certainly being a retailer myself, I understand where a lot of these businesses are coming from. So kind of, I guess, to just clarify some of the thoughts that I have regarding some of these items. I can tell you that I have no problem with 60 days for a grand opening sign, and I have no problem with 20 days for a special sign. I believe that many businesses come to Goodyear because they see this city of quality, and that quality is due to specific design guidelines that we have laid out. And where it comes to a 2-year temporary status on these items, I understand what Ms. Holman has stated, and I believe that we need to look at it in 2 years. I myself think that it needs to be temporary because I do not want to see us lose that quality. But I do want to revisit it, say, at 18 months so that we can decide whether or not we think that it does need 36 months. It's not 24 months. So I agree with Ms. Loretano on that. I do myself like the kiosk sign thought rather than having all the bandit signs. This also could be a source of revenue for the city because we could be selling those little sections. And I think that helps clean up some areas. There are also business areas that have no marquee signage whatsoever. So this helps get out on the street for some of those smaller businesses that are set back to be seen. As for my fellow business owner that was discussing his vehicle signage, in a center that has a small amount, to me, it seems like that's a no-brainer. Let him have that opportunity. However, it cannot be on unimproved areas. Our city, our valley is has a dire situation with dust control, and we cannot have people parking their vehicles on unimproved areas. I, though, would say a 45%, but that cannot be discussed tonight. That's something that would have to come to us later on. Let's see, what else do I have? Unimproved lots. As for the home builders, you know what? I have no problem with the weekends and them having a little extra signage because that's when people are out looking at new homes and helping them find balloons, I don't have a problem with that for the weekends. I think there's a lot of things that we can do to be helping our businesses. I think the fact that this is even coming to us, as it was stated by Ms. Holman, that we are recognizing businesses need the help. And you know what? The better off they're doing, the better off we're going to be doing. And so we need to look at it the most we can, but it still has to be temporary. We're not talking about digital billboards yet?
Not yet, no, because I think that'll just convolute it. I think, don't you agree, we need to talk about this? And
Yes,
then-
I'm staying calm right now. Go ahead.
Oh, well, we'll wait for an anticipation of your
Okay.
next emotional outbreak.
I think I hit everything. Thank you.
Joe? Mr. Pizzillo?
What I'd like to add is I agree a lot with Councilmember Loretano and Osborne. I think it's important in this economy, and especially in this environment, we try whatever we can to try to make it our business community successful. There's a lot of things going on out right there that they're competing against to try to stay afloat. I also agree, I don't know what the percentage is, and I know we can't discuss it now, but I saw pictures of the car in the parking lot. If it's that vacant and there's only a few of them left, I don't want to see another vacant store go under. Again, on improved, not unimproved, I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. As far as the home builders are concerned, they do generate, we get impact fees, we get sales tax. I'd like for them to be successful as well. You know, I don't have a problem with a few more flags. I would ask that our staff kind of work with them to see if we can get some type of an agreement to maybe make it a little more, productive for them as far as trying to for people to find the locations. I know I had family out the other day, and they wanted to look for homes in Goodyear, and they had trouble figuring out which way to go, and I was directing them. So I think there's some more helpful to get those out there. I really do, for our business community. You know, when I go up and down the street and I see a lot of these vacant commercial centers and a lot of vacant sites, I think whatever we can do to help without, again, because we pride ourselves on the quality of the community and pride ourselves on the aesthetics, without going too overboard on that. I think it's important that we try to get an environment that they're successful. Their success is our success. And again, we'll talk about it later today as far as some of the promotions that we're doing to try to promote that. But I think it's important for us to try to focus on that. And I realize the temporary, I kind of see that, but I like to revisit it as well over those periods that everybody's talking about. But I think it's important to create that environment. I really do, to make all our business successful.
Thank you. Well, I have to say, 6 months or a year ago, I've approached staff on signs for businesses early on, when I could see a number of businesses were failing. And some of the businesses are located in areas that the site is not good from the main road. And this is unusual. These are unusual times, and they are suffering business people. When they suffer, we suffer as a city. Joe, you're right. Joanne, you made a lot of good comments. Sherry, you did too, that I agree with. So I have been promoting this. I believe I came up with the kiosk recommendation because we do have those frames. They told me they belong to the city. Is that correct? It is a way that businesses can advertise their stores. It's orderly looking. It's made out of metal, and it has slats where they can put their name or their business in. I was in the home building business, and we called our signs bandit signs. Now, you don't use that in Goodyear, but we did that in Virginia. And I lived on those signs for livelihood. They work. The A-frames work. Now, we had horrendous fines if I didn't have my sign man pick them up after the weekend, and that's what we did. We concentrated on the weekend. Then our company was fined. The same way about the A-frame. You don't put it back in your business during the time you're closed, you're going to get a big fine for it. So I think it can be controlled. The wrap sign, I went over to Mr. Wilson's business. I drove around the parking lot. I had a conversation with him. I looked at the vehicle, and I agree with, was it you, I'm not sure, Lori, did you mention about there's not a law for a wrapped car? Because I think when this ordinance was passed, we were thinking of the semi-trucks that were parking out in the parking lots of shopping centers with their big signs on them. And every now and then you do go by a community that you see maybe the big truck on the Robeson property that says Robeson Homes. Well, that's an advertisement. He gets that. So, I'm in favor of this. I think we need to add something, and I don't know how we do that, okay? I think the home builders should be allowed more signs. I went to an opening, and this is how it came up, and it was just off McDowell, and I could not find the model home. So, and it was on a weekend. So I missed the sign where they had it kind of angled on their property, and Ron and I drove all around, turned around, and couldn't find it. Finally, I found it. So, you know, if I hadn't been, you know, decided I really wanted to see that model home, I would have never ended up there. So I wanted to see it, so I persevered. But most people turn around and drive someplace to another community. We need to help our businesses. We talk about our small businesses all the time. That's all you hear. What are the cities doing for the small businesses? Got to help them, got to help them. And when it comes down to push and shove, we don't help them. So this is some direction we can. Now, I understand that I want it to have a pristine city. I do. I want it to look well. So we need to be sure that we're monitoring it, and I agree with coming back and looking at it at a later date to see how it's been working and have code compliance come before us and talk to us. So I'm in favor of this.
Let me make my point.
More discussion?
Yeah. One of the reasons I'm concerned about the A-frame ordinances is that, you know, we have an ordinance on the books right now regarding garage signs. And they have to be taken down from time to time for the weekend. If they're up, they have to be taken down and put back on the next day. This is not happening, okay, in this city. And this concerns me with the A-frames. If we're going to put them on McDowell Road and alongside the shopping centers, that's going to be distracting, and it's not going to be very, very nice looking. And that's my concern here. How can we instill in the people that are putting these A-frames and the businesses that are putting these A-frames opposite their activities without the concern that I've expressed, that they stay there from time on end. Nobody's responsible for putting them up or taking them down. So if I can be assured some way, okay, if we can come up with something that puts real stiff penalties on the people that don't respond to what we anticipate in this ordinance, to take them down, put them up, you take them down within prescribed time frames. And if we can reach some response to that from the community, then I would be in favor of the ordinance itself. But until that's time, as I say, I'd like to have an amendment as was presented and seconded by Councilman Cavalier, that we take item 3 and item 7 and make an amendment that we discuss this at a later date.
So I need to bring this up for vote on that amendment.
That's correct, but I want to clarify. I think 3 and 7 were the items listed in the PowerPoint, but I think technically in the ordinance, it's Section 2, temporary signs, the A-frame issue, correct, Councilmember Sousa?
Yeah.
And in Section 3, which is the kiosk signs, those are the two you want to remove. Is that correct?
No, let's put these up again, Joe, will you?
Yeah. I just need to, I want to make sure we got them matched up.
Let's get it squared away, one way or the other.
It's item 7 about advertising on the kiosk sign is actually section.
I'm all right with that.
Oh, you're okay
You're
with
okay
that?
with kiosks? Okay.
Okay with that.
It's the A-frame sign.
Yeah, start from 3, start from 1 down, and keep on going.
Well, 3 is the A-frame sign.
All right, that was the one of the ones.
And just for point of clarification, the way the A-frame sign section is written is that the A-frame sign needs to be displayed in front of the business by the front door, not out on the street.
So it wouldn't have you, what your concern was, wouldn't be there.
Take a look at going down McDowell today and see where signs are.
I would, Councilman Sousa, I would acknowledge that it's an
That's my
enforcement
concern.
problem.
It's a policing problem, not
And 7,
You said was okay, the kiosk.
7 is the kiosk signs.
let's go back to 6. Let's see 6.
Seems 6 is prohibiting flying banner signs and animated inflatables.
The freeway signs. Where,
Oh, no, that's not here yet.
okay, all right.
Where's that in the
Then
ordinance?
3 would be the only one I'm objecting to. then.
3?
Yeah, 3. Item
So
3.
section 3,
Which is Article what?
It's Article 2.
Article 2.
Or it's section 2.
Yeah, Section 2 of the ordinance.
Section 2?
Section 2 of the ordinance.
Section 2.
Yeah. My understanding is the amendment was to remove section 2 related to A-frame signs. As I guess we're
So we'll vote on
restating
that
it.
before we vote on the...
That would be the amendment.
Okay.
Can I ask for a clarification, Vice Mayor?
Yes,
on
go
that?
ahead. Clarification?
Just a quick clarification on that. If we remove that out, does that mean no A-frame signs right now would not be allowed until we brought this back? Is that what the end result would be? So that means
That's
A-frames would be illegal if we move that out right now?
That's correct.
Totally. And how long would it take to bring it back? Because I have a problem with doing, I appreciate Councilmember Souza's concern, but if we don't bring that back quicker, and then we want to, the whole idea is to provide relief to the business community, and we're looking at an enforcement, then we've missed that window of opportunity. That's why I want to make sure what I'm voting on. If we vote to remove it, then any A-frame sign would be illegal.
That's correct.
Especially holidays coming up.
Well, yeah,
Mayor, there's,
Councilman Cavalier?
yeah, I have a concern that I just thought of on these tent signs. I don't want to fight these churches, and they use the tent signs on weekends, and they only set them out on Sunday. And I don't think our code enforcement person wants to go out there and approach these churches and start a fight with these. I wouldn't. It's not worth it. And besides, this is their only way of knowing. They're in some of the shopping centers. Some of the churches aren't in like a church building, and they do need that exposure. But well, from what I've seen with the churches, they're pretty good about putting them out late Saturday night, picking them up Sunday night. So I guess I'm having some trouble going on with the tent signs.
So we don't have
in general.
consensus on that, it looks like. So do we have,
You have a motion and a second,
so
so
we
you
have
need to take a vote.
okay. Is this a roll call vote then?
No.
No? All right.
Wait a minute, let's clarify one thing. When can we bring this back, that one item? Our next meeting is
Well,
what?
legally, very quickly, procedurally, from the Community Development Department,
We don't have another meeting until December.
Yeah. Wait, December 9th?
Yeah, this next meeting. They got plenty of time for them to work on it.
If we talk about bringing it back a little closer to look at it, monitor it, that should take care of that.
so we got our calendars out over here. It's basically, if you remove it from this zoning ordinance, you're starting over, and so you're going to have to run it through the whole process. So we're 45 days? Yeah.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. It's closer to Christmas.
Too long.
A long time.
You want to withdraw that?
Yeah, I'll have to, I guess.
So you just call for the vote.
I don't want to hold this thing up for 45 days, that's for
Councilman
sure.
Souza withdraws the motion,
And I would
the
draw a
amendment
second.
to the motion.
Withdrawing the amendment?
We have a second from Councilman Cavalier.
Okay.
And I'll withdraw my second.
So now you're ready for the main motion.
Well, actually, I just want to clarify something. We talked about the wrapped cars. Okay, so we talked about that we maybe have to look into something that will cover that or consider that. So where does that leave that?
Madam Vice Mayor, I don't believe that the issue is the wrapped car. I believe that the issue, Joe, isn't it, is parking illegally across the spaces.
Well, he was not, I looked, the car was not parked illegally.
No, but I
across the
think
space.
that's the
It was
issue.
next to the curb on a straightaway. And you could have actually, I think, backed another car out and not hit that car, but that's where it was. He had, cars were parked in this direction, and he had it parked in the curb in this
Okay.
direction.
I think the issue, though, is that if you have a parking lot with lined spaces, that you must park in the lines. Now, I'm not arguing for or against it, but I think that's the issue.
Well,
Madam
excuse me.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, code compliance runs into this occasionally. And basically, if a car is parked in a legal space, even though if it's wrapped or it has something displayed on the side, then they assume it's there on business and is parked illegally. So then it's parked as a vehicle, not as a sign. But when it's positioned in a way that is unusual, then is when they looked at it as being a sign. Now, whether that could be interpreted differently, I suppose, but that's how they apply the law to others, because there are other instances where businesses have something painted on the side of a truck or a sign on the side of the vehicle, but as long as it's parked in a legal parking space, they don't address those.
Is there a way we can further address that issue? I mean, if you've got a commercial center that's 45% full and there's not an endangerment, I understand the legal issue as far as parking. I'm trying to see if we can get a happy medium in here somewhere where...
Is it the common sense clause?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, Vice Mayor, Councilor Pizziller, I agree that it seems like we're swatting a fly with a sledgehammer by changing the ordinance to accommodate that, but I think there's probably some flexibility that could be applied. It's just, you know, every ordinance has an exception, and it's usually the person we're applying the ordinance to, but that's neither here nor there. I think there could be some judgment exercise.
I would venture to say, after being down there, you could paint two lines against that curb coming out into the parking lot, and there'd be enough room for two cars to park, and somebody be able to park the other way and back out. That's all I'm saying, is when you go over there, you know, it doesn't, you know.
I think we've heard the council's sentiment on the issue.
Madam Vice Mayor, whatever it is we'd have to bring a new ordinance back to you because it is not in this ordinance presently, and we'd be happy to do that. Take a look at that. But
well, I think addressing wrapped cars, I think that is a new industry, and that's different than a semi being parked out in a big parking lot. Does anybody else? Let's hear it on the council.
I don't have a problem bringing something back to
Councilman Cavalier?
Yeah, but later, I think I like the way the ordinance is written, and there's enough room out there. When you park that car, it's going to get enough attention with no other cars out in the parking lot, even if it's parked correctly. So, and in fact, I think it makes people look for it. This car's different, and they'll read it. So how it's parked, I don't really think makes that much difference. What I object to, what this might lead to, and that is big trucks pull into the parking lot. Safeway does this occasionally down here in Australia, and that big truck parks crossways, and so they can show their Safeway sign out on Australia Parkway. And I object to that, but not enough to cause much concern. But I think this wrapped car, and it's well done, it's a very nice advertisement, but I think just parked in his parking lot somewhere out in the middle, and it's parked properly, it's going to attract as much attention, and when he's on the road. I mean, that's the purpose of a wrapped car. When he's on the street. That's why the taxi cabs are all wrapped. Get these advertisements out. And the nice thing about this wrapped car is that you can move your sign. You can take it anywhere you want, because anytime you get in the car and go somewhere, you're taking your sign with you. So you're advertising your business all over town. I think we ought to leave the ordinance as it is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe that this ordinance needs to be left as it is. Now, I do think that in the future we can discuss what the wrap car issue is. I don't think we are properly addressing it this evening. I do see a wrapped car as a sign. I do see it that way. And I think that I understand Councilmember Cavalier's issue that depending on how we word it, could a big semi-truck wrap themselves and consider themselves the same as, you know, the little shop owner that has his own little car wrapped up. There's a difference. There's a big difference. And so I think that's why we need to do it properly, where we all want to give the small business the opportunity to advertise, but I think that we're just going to have to address it, and it's going to have to come back to us. So right now, tonight, I don't think that we're at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I would add would be, I like what people are suggesting, the 45%, and maybe that's a clause we can have a 24-month provision too. Let people park a little different, and even for this, to prevent the semi, you can say gross weight under whatever, under whatever each two size is, you could do a gross weight example, and that should prevent that.
So technically, how do we do this? Those things will be for staff to look into on those two items?
Yes.
But there's a third item, too, that we all discussed, and that was the home builders, the signs for the home development community.
For the weekend type of...
That would be an amendment to this ordinance, Joe, wouldn't it? So you'd have to make a motion to amend this ordinance.
All right, I hear a motion to amend this ordinance to add home builders.
Where are we amending it at?
I want to have the right technical, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
what do
we're
you
gonna
call
have
the
to
signs?
The weekend signage?
The weekend signs.
Is that the A-frame? Where are we going to do it?
Joe, you want to write this down? Just when he does it, will you write it down? And
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, what exactly do you all want the amendment to say? What are you trying to accomplish with the
home builders,
subdivisions?
I think increase the number of signs they can use, directional signs. I believe that was the
For weekends or just?
on weekends, yes.
Okay,
I think you need to have
Rourke,
a
I
time.
believe, has it.
There needs to be a time,
Weekends.
well, when does the weekend officially start, Georgia?
Okay, well,
I think the home builders submitted some recommendations, so if you look at their language, is that they're recommending section 710(1)(b)(4), assuming this is what the council is interested in, that reads, residential directional signs, weekend directional, allow a total of 15 weekend directional signs per project. Signs may not be installed before 4 p.m. on Friday and must be removed before 8 a.m. the following Monday. Except when a legal holiday occurs on a Monday, signs must be removed by 8 a.m. on the following Tuesday. So that's what the home builders asked for. I guess your question, or you'd consider if that's what you're interested in, and if that number, 15 of directional signs, is what the council's interest is as well.
Visually, I'm trying to picture 15.
710(1)(b).
yeah, it's the last one. It's the last one on the list.
Yeah.
Does everybody have that?
Yeah.
Comments?
Is there a distance between, did you guys call for a distance between those signs, or?
Madam Vice Mayor, Mr. Pizzillo, I think, not to throw anybody under the bus, but I believe that Beezer, for example, every weekend has more than 15 signs out. I mean, so this is already done as bandit signs.
Well, but don't we want to make it so it's legal? Or do we just want to this is
But
criteria.
I guess what I'm showing you, though, is that basically people do what they want to do with these signs, and unless we get code enforcement people out there on weekends or to enforce this on a Monday morning at 8 a.m., quite frankly, it's just not going to happen.
John, what are our fines for this? What is the actual fine entail?
Rourke, what are the fines for a code violation?
Mayor, I think that this is getting down into some pretty
Well,
petty stuff.
we're
They
up,
do this anyway, and
we're up
we
here to
can't
address.
police it.
We're up here to address what the requests of some of the business owners are, and I just want to be sure we tidy up the discussion tonight and not leave something hanging. And that was one of that we didn't, and we need to make a decision on. Are we going to just stay with our signage for the home builders for the model homes, or are we going to change it? We're going to look at this request or not. That's. But just to leave it hanging and not address it after it's been given to us, I don't think we should do that.
Vice Mayor, going back to John throwing me under the bus there. Zoning ordinance are class 1 misdemeanors. That's how we treat zoning violations. So there's discretion up to $2,500 in fines plus surcharges. as well as other penalties. I'm not aware of anything.
It's a substantial fine.
I'm not aware of anything being prosecuted.
So I would
under
say
that
that's
zoning.
probably one of the areas code compliance should be checking on. That's a substantial fine.
Yeah, I don't think
Get
that's ever
somebody's
been
attention.
imposed.
Well, and that's my point, though, is that quite frankly, I mean, unless you want code compliance's budget to go way up so that we can have people out there on the weekends, that's the problem you're going to have. They're going to be able to do what they want to do.
They're out Monday when work starts.
I just, so we're going to make a decision on, not to help the businesses. We're going to make a decision on, because it's too much for us to do. It's going to cost us too much. We don't have enough code compliance. I personally can't go there. I think that we need to give these businesses help. We came up with a solution that would give a little bit more advertising. If we find, we're bringing it back for review. Isn't that what everybody suggested? What was the time frame?
45 days.
45 days? We'll look at,
Isn't it?
No. You mean 24 months? Is that what you mean?
yeah, was it, I didn't
24
know.
months.
I had said 18 months so that we were in line with the 24-month window and decide then if it was to go further or not. That's what I had asked.
Of course, the easiest, stick with what it says in here, and then we wouldn't have to have another amendment. That's up to you.
Oh, no, I'm just saying on staff's direction that they would come back at 18 months and tell us how it's going.
Okay.
And we will bring it back in 18 months, assuming it passes.
All right, so does anybody want to make a motion to add the residential directional signs?
I'll move to add article, what we discussed, the language we discussed for the 15 residential signs.
Vice Mayor, before we have a second on that, the lawyer and me just questions that maybe we want to massage that language a little bit. We haven't defined what a project is, and I think we may want to further define where they can place those signs. Do you want the signs placed on the project property? Certainly, we don't allow these signs to be placed in the public right-of-way. So there's a little looseness to the language.
Wouldn't they have to adhere to the way the signage of the ordinance already is about placement?
Well, the ordinance
About
said
other
prohibits
signs,
it
but
anyway,
signs,
so-
are the same other sign
Prohibits it.
placements?
Prohibits it.
Yeah, prohibits placement of these types of signs, so go ahead, Joe.
I guess we may have to bring it back.
These types of signs are basically prohibited for the most part in the ordinance. So that's why we don't have a provision specifically for them. If it's the consensus of the council that you want to do something about it, may I suggest that we be given direction to pursue something, and we could bring it back to you as quickly as possible but I'm just putting this out as a suggestion, and bring it directly back to the council at the earliest meeting that we could publish for.
I
How's
agree
that?
with that, yes.
Agreement?
Yeah.
Agreement? Okay, so be.
Do I have to withdraw my motion now?
Okay, now, so,
You didn't have a second, so.
Okay.
we didn't have it, so, any more discussion on this as it stands?
So we're back to the original
We're back to original.
ordinance, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right, are we ready for a roll call?
Yes, just to clarify, Councilmember Cavalier made the motion, Councilmember Pizzolo seconded. So Councilmember Cavalier,
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne,
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzolo,
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano,
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa,
With reservation, aye.
Vice Mayor Lord.
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Would the city clerk read ordinance 10-1225 by title only?
6.
Adopt ordinance 10-1226, amending Article 7-5, definitions, and Article 7-8, permitted permanent signs of the zoning ordinance of the City of Goodyear, Arizona, adopted May 24th, 1999, as amended, adding a definition for digital marquee signs, amending the definition of off-site sign, and adding a provision to allow digital marquee signs in certain zoning districts, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
So the floor is open to discussion.
We need a motion.
Motion?
Mayor?
I
Thank
make
you
a
for this
motion that
help.
we adopt ordinance 10-1226.
Second.
As read by the clerk.
I heard a motion by Councilman Cavalier and second by Councilman Pizzillo. Roll call. No, discussion.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm going to catch on to this yet, guys? Be patient. Thank you, everyone, for being so patient. Discussion?
Yes. Did you want to start?
Well, as far as the signs along I-10 are concerned, I am concerned, as I've always been, about signs regarding signs along the freeway. I still think it's a distraction. Yes, I agree that there's monetary involved for the city, and it's substantial. But at this time, I still must take my position and not for this ordinance.
Councilman Osborne?
Well, first of all, I'd like to know why we're even discussing this when the financial impact hasn't even been truly given to us. I feel that some were interested in what that kind of revenue was going to be. Now, that doesn't change anything in my book. I've stated it in the past, and I will state it again, that digital billboards are not fitting for the city. We're back to the discussion of quality. We're back to the discussion of our design guidelines, why we set ourselves apart in the city. They are unsafe for the drivers on our I-10 freeway. The freeway, which we have fought to have widened and deemed to make safe, is now a step backward in that progress. It is wrong when government will state a policy or regulation that does not work for the private landowner. If I have that correctly, I believe that that's still the case. And our own general plan that this city put together and was adopted by its citizens would not be in favor of digital billboards. They go against anything which is of quality, and quite frankly, they are as tacky as all get out. I can't say it any more than just tacky, tacky, tacky. And so I will still say that this is not good for Goodyear. And it's unfortunate that other cities have not seen that. I know that the I-10 to many people is just an eyesore, but you know what? It's still a distraction, and we don't need that. And we want to be a progressive city, but in-your-face signage is not it. Thank you.
Councilman Loretano?
Well, without actually looking at the merits of it, because I think that's still, for me, to be discussed, I don't have a huge problem with, I think I talked about this before, maybe one sign or placed. Do I want the whole I-10 to be signage? No, although we're almost there with all the pylon signs that we seem to have. So I'm looking at this today as this allows the city to go forward and negotiate and look to see what we want to do, and I think when we have this in hand, we permit them in our city if we agree. So we can look at the plan and then what comes back to us, and if what comes back is not, the fiscal impact is not good for the city, the aesthetics that come back are not good for the city, the control we have it is not good for the city, then I think that's a separate issue. But for me, I think this just gives the city manager and staff the ability to continue negotiating and come back to see what we have.
Councilman Vasillo?
I tend to agree with Councilmember Loretano. This is more of a definition of what the sign is going to be. It allows us to move forward into discussion. Doesn't necessarily mean that when it comes before us that we're going to agree on that. This just kind of opens the door. So I will vote yay for the ordinance.
Councilman Cavalier?
I, too, will vote for the ordinance because I think it's good. Knowing our city staff is not going to overdo this, and it will be good for the city. And then we have 303 to deal with, and that's in the future, because we do have some land that belongs to the city on the 303, but that's beyond our time. I'm not going to be too concerned about that, but we can control how many signs and what should be done. And so that when that comes back, I think that's the time to talk about that. But yes, I agree that we should pass this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with Councilwoman Loretano. I like the way you presented that. It's just an investigation to see what the cost is, what we would earn for revenue from it. This came up because the Budget Committee recommended this, and that's why we're in front of you, and that was a number of citizens on that Budget Committee. So this is one of the revenue suggestions they made. So because of that, and because we don't have that information tonight, I'm going to vote for this too. I really only liked one area, and that was on the Dysart location. So, but I do want to bring it to your attention that I did drive around by there, and I did look at some of the city plans, and all of Bullard is going to be that airport commerce department, commercial. All of McDowell is going to be commercial. We're going to have several hotels, and I think how many floors, 5 or 6 floors behind?
I believe 5. 8 on Drury.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you visually look at that, you know, right now we drive down Bullard and it's so pristine. It's fields and it's open sky and you see the mountains, but that's not going to stay that way. If we pursue the plan, it's going to change, and there's going to be a lot of tall buildings, hotels, and so forth. So I'm going to agree to vote for this tonight to get to the next stage, and where then you can again express your opinions whether or not this is going to go forth.
Welcome to Vegas. Hey, Vegas is first class.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I'm not even
What you see here.
City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
No.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
H-E-double-O, hockey
Vice
sticks,
Mayor
no?
Lord?
Aye.
It passes 4-2.
That's a no.
We will now take a short recess. We are going to have a work session following this, so this meeting's adjourned.
Yep.
Oh, did I do something wrong again? What was it?
Information.
Could we
The
regress?
city manager.
I'm sorry. Is there any information from the city manager?
No, there isn't, Madam
And
Mayor.
I want to thank everybody that participated tonight for your patience with me. This was a learning experience for me tonight, and council, thank you also. And we have one more with a work session, so hang with me.
We have a couple more things.
We got a couple comments.
Couple more.
Go ahead.
First thing is was fortunate enough, and several on the dais were in the Veterans Day Parade at Pebble Creek. Fantastic parade. I want to tip the hat to Carolyn Rhoda and Susan Munsell, the co-chairs of the committee. They put on an excellent event. I also, and again, I know I won't be able to catch them all, the Classic Car Club provided the cars that we were in. There was a marching band by one of the high schools. It was Desert Edge High School Marching Band. They had the memorial bell ring. All I say, it was a first-class parade. I'm guessing 1,000 people was at least there in there.
Easy that.
And had a great time. So again, I'm hoping it's an annual event that they put on. They did a fantastic job. So I just wanted to tip the hat to them because I know I didn't cover everybody. Hopefully some of the others will pick the ones up I missed. Thank you.
Other comments?
Yeah, I attended the parade as well, and I had the most fun. And my kids were there, and they had the most fun. My favorite comment was my son when he saw a guy with a Navy hat. He goes, "Thank you, Navy man." So thank you, Pebble Creek, for inviting us. I really do appreciate it.
It was a great community effort. We need to have definitely more events that have that community feel, and I was proud to be part of it. And hats off to them. They did an outstanding job.
Thank you. Mr. Sousa?
Well, being a participant in the parade, it really brought tears to my eyes because I am a veteran from World War II, and to see other veterans being honored in that fashion, it was humbling, to say the least. The people were just fantastic along the parade rite. I think all of us got tired of a wave.
They had 2 bands.
But yeah, it was just fabulous. They did a terrific job in organizing it, and they controlled it very, very well. I don't think that there was one hitch in the entire operation, and they're to be commended for it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I attended the Leading Edge Marketing Campaign and Showcase this week, and this is where our Economic Development Department has put together a new campaign, and if you can stay around for the work session, because you're going to see the results of that. It was just outstanding, and I received a letter from the commercial properties from Andrew Jaffe, and actually he sent me the letter that he sent to Harry Paxton and complimenting him. And I can't tell you enough what they think of the city of Goodyear. And they said, "I will not forget that it was a team effort that brought Suntech to this great city. And I always feel that is the same level of interest in every client, which makes our city stand well above all others here in the valley. But most importantly, it is people like you, Harry, and Paula, together with the balancing of your team, which makes it happen day in and day out." So I hope you'll stay and to see this campaign, this presentation. And I want to give credit to the people in the economic development that worked on this. Paula Ilardo, our Director of Economic Development and leader of the campaign. Harry Paxton, our Economic Development Manager, he helped to coordinate the attendance. And how many showed up at this? How big do you think this show was, Harry? Over 100 businessmen. Paul Zambini, he's the Economic Development Retail Manager. He coordinated the attendance, the prizes, Suntech Tour, the speakers, the presenter. Michael Leone, the graphic designer, created all the great brochures, and they're absolutely done so professionally, and the invitation. Kathy Hosen, the webmaster, created the presence for the Leading Edge campaign on the city website. Nora Fasanelli, the media relation and public information, she produced the promotional Leading Edge video, and you need to stay to see this video. It's not going to take much more of your evening out, but please stay. It's just a 3-minute video. It's going to be shown on the big screen, and it showcases and distributes contacts on the flash drive. So it actually was a learning and teaching and giving them information. And then Ann Hingston, I hope I pronounced that right, the staff assistant and the event planner and organizer. And I just wanted to share this with the public. Thank you. Meeting adjourned?
No, wait.
Oh, my God, I'm never going to get this right, yes?
Okay.
Direction to staff.
I'm sure everybody in the city and throughout the state has seen the Arizona Republic about the immigration sweep that was done in Goodyear by our police department. Every one of us who reside here should have a pride in these men, and in particular the leader of that group, Sergeant Bryant, who did an excellent job in organizing it and bringing it together, and really put a crimp in immigration, illegal immigration in this city, and the total state will be involved by these actions. So my personal compliments and congratulations to the police department, and I'm sure that the council as a whole wishes them the same. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Staff summary of follow-up actions?
We will be bringing back an ordinance as soon as possible that will address the wrapped car issue and the home builders. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I do have a couple of things.
Joanne?
In the past, I know that City Manager, yourself and your staff have been looking and doing a great job in cutting expenses for the city. I would like to ask that on a different thought process, at looking at just generating revenue, because I know you've put a lot of hard work into the cutting of expenses. So now I'd like to see kind of a summary of different revenue-generated ideas, things you've put into place, things that you're looking at, something to give us some ideas that we're really continuing to look in that direction of revenues, okay?
Certainly be happy to, Councilmember Osborne.
Thank you. The last, don't you say signs, and the
Well, that will be one of the items.
I know you'll put it there. The last thing I have to say, especially after attending the Veterans Day parade and that community spirit that was there, something has occurred that I'm bothered by, and I'm going to speak it. In the last 3.5 years that I've been on this council, we began our holiday celebration at the community park. And it was a beautiful event. It had community spirit. We had a tree lighting ceremony, and that tree stayed up for the entire holiday season. Everybody could see it going up and down the road. Just recently, I found out we are now going to be lighting the Ziz. And where I understand that we, took our Christmas on the road, or I shouldn't say Christmas, holiday on the road to the ballpark. I understand that we can have more people there, we have better amenities there, I understand all that, but I draw the line when it's lighting the Ziz. I'm sorry, it goes back to tackiness, and I just think that the community spirit is being lost. And so I just had to give you that opinion.
Madam Vice Mayor and Councilmember Osborne, we are planning a tree. We will have a tree lighting ceremony because all of us agree with what you're saying, Councilmember Osborne, and so we really appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
So now we can just call it was a joke, that it was going to be the lighting of the
No,
Ziz?
it wasn't a joke.
Oh.
It was going to be, but we are planning alternatives right now.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
I would like to announce a future meeting. There will be a special meeting on Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock in this room. So, and that will be posted also, is that correct? Yes. Is there any more comments? Am I ready to say meeting adjourned? And we will take, how about if we take a 5-minute break? Does that work?
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.